Alright, dear traveller and welcome. Oh boy am I excited today. Direct from Japan, I've received a Ricoh GRD1. I'm so pumped for this. So good to have a GR back in my ownership. And that takes me to an interesting realization. If you love a camera, set it free. If you realize that you can't live without it, you know it's the one. Now, locate your nearest coffee and tea making facilities and make yourself a hot brew. Then make your way to the room that contains a chair of optimum comfort and proceed to recline. This is going to be a bumper episode. Enjoy. So, why the GRD? In my last video about the GR2 that I had, I said that it didn't matter what GR you had, so I thought I'd test that theory. So one of the hardest cameras to find much details on or videos on is the early series of the GR digital line, so why not start there? If you don't already know, the GRD has some history and was made famous in its day by a street legend called Daido Moriyama. Well, to be fair, he started out with the GR1 film camera that is highly sought after to this day. One day, hopefully. Which was or is a high-end point-and-shoot camera that was released in 1996. All the digital cameras are spin-offs of that original film camera, trying to capture the same spirit and feel of the film camera. Here's a quick video of Mr. Moriyama using the GR Digital 1. I'm always amazed at how he moves from scene to scene, the way he moves through rooms. No one seems to notice him, he's almost like a ghost. So after the GR Digital was released in 2005, it had a follow-up of a Mark II, a Mark III and a Mark IV. These are all part of the Ricoh GR Digital line. These have smaller sensors than the more recent GR APS-C side sensor cameras that came out from 2013 onwards. Now the GR Digital 1 that we're looking at is a very interesting camera. It's an 8.1 megapixel camera that has a tiny sensor. It has a lot of manual controls and of course the amazingly sharp 28mm equivalent lens. But it's the small details that make these cameras a cult classic. Easy one-handed operation, truly pocketable, almost silent shutter, leaf shutter, built-in flash, metal body, automatic lens cover, shoots raw, and the list goes on. They've packed in a lot of the professional features that you would expect to see DSLR or professional cameras. Anyway, as I started to search for the camera, I came across an interesting review online. It said, "Point and shoot for camera nerds. 15 years after learning of this camera, I bought one for monochrome work. It's tiny, lightweight, and after a bit of learning, quite easy to use. My background is 50 plus years of film photography, therefore I have no problem if the image has some digital noise, which roughly mimics film grain. There are likely many cameras that are technically better than the version 1.0 of the Ricoh GR Digital. Right now, this is the best camera for me. Coming from film work, I desired a camera that can be configured for fixed focus." He's got a little asterisk there and it takes you down to a point there where it says that he's overriding the autofocus. It goes on to say that Ricoh's snap focus settings and fully manual exposure settings. It's incredibly small and capable for the work I want to do with it. This is a camera with a cult following and not recommended for non-geeky camera users. This spiked my interest. Why would someone who shoots film for so long pick this camera? And what's this cult following that he's speaking about? When I look on YouTube or Instagram, there's very little information about this camera. So where is this following? Then he left a clue. Not recommended for non-geeky camera users. And where do geeky camera users exist? Forums, of course. So down the rabbit hole we go. I checked out some reviews online that were pretty good. There was some talk about how slow the autofocus is and the write speeds are pretty bad on RAW files, and they're not wrong to be honest. I think it's around about 12 seconds. 12 seconds to write a RAW file, that's bad. There was a good review on 35mmc.com written by Hamish Gill. I'll leave a link in the description. It was honest and tried to explain the unique qualities this camera has, and compared it even with a Leica monochrome. Like always, I took some time to read the comments below to get some extra insight. I noticed a comment from a guy called Michael Penn, who mentioned he used it for around 12 years and made a photo zine with it. I found it interesting, but I kept digging through forums. There was a lot of people who didn't get or rate the GRD1 as anything special, and they would much rather a GRD4 or 3. Also, people mentioned that the GRD1 had tones and shades in the JPEGs that looked a lot like Kodak T-Max, and how that wasn't something to be proud about. I don't get why there's so much hate for T-Max. Personally me, I like Kodak T-Max, and if I'm honest, I like it more than HP5. But hey, that's just me. Anyway, deep on a DP review forum, I stumbled across this name, Michael Penn, again. And here is where we regret that DPR completely deleted every post by photographer Michael Penn, who continued to use the GRD1 and achieved great results, and may still use it now. He used other cameras, including other Ricohs, but my impression was he thought this version was unique. In response, Tom received a message. He was banned from the site, and all of his threads or posts in other threads were completely deleted. But his insight for the GRD1 and how it differed to later models, the GX100, was good info to have on hand at this forum. Here was a thread where members briefly discussed the turn of events. Folks have obviously moved on, and it's not worth hashing over again. This made me wonder, who is this Michael Penn, and what's his experience with this camera? A quick Google yielded results. Turns out he's a well-established international photographer. Some of his prints and publications sitting in holdings in some of the most prestigious art institutes in the world, including MoMA and the Library of the National Museum of Modern Art in Tokyo, to name a few. So let's just say he knows what he's doing. I searched him up on Instagram and even reached out to him about the original GRD. To my amazement and appreciation, he responded to me and gave me some advice about the GRD. I was and am very grateful to have had that experience. After doing all that research, I was getting the idea that this camera was special, and the way it rendered noise and tones was unique to this camera compared to all the other GR models. I was so excited to finally have one and see what the camera is like. Straight off the bat, you need to be aware that this is an old digital camera. So yes, autofocus is slow and loud. But there is a workaround. If you have the need for speed, then you have to switch this to snap focusing, which is preset to 2 meters. Once you're in this mode, you can snap away very fast with very little delay. But like I mentioned, shooting RAW isn't really an option, as it takes around 12 seconds to write to the card. If you really need to shoot RAW, then the option's there, but you'll need to plan the shot as you won't be able to take the next shot for 12 seconds. This would slow down your shooting dramatically, almost like film. Talking about almost like film, the display on the back is such low resolution that it's only used to create your composition. Honestly, you have no idea how the shot turned out until you get it onto your PC. Even zooming in on the image on the camera makes no difference. The camera feels just the same in quality and robustness as all the other GRs. The menu is very basic and super easy to navigate. Also, this camera can only take a maximum 2GB memory card. Even more reason to shoot JPEGs. The built-in flash works great, and it has a hot shoe if you want to go crazy. Okay guys, it's time to look at some shots I got with this camera. Please note, all images are JPEG and are straight out of the camera, unless stated otherwise. From an 8 megapixel camera, I'm more than happy with the detail and resolution. Even these rose petals, cropping in shows amazing detail and information. And how's that grain? There's something about the images that this camera captures. So these nighttime shots are all shot at 1600 ISO. Even at such a high ISO, the images still look sharp and still have plenty of detail. It truly is like nothing else I've used. Let's check out some colour images. Now it does get noisy with colour. I do however like the colours, and with the right editing you can manage the noise. Some of these colour shots really have a vintage look to them that I dig. I'm completely sold on this camera and I would definitely recommend it. For geeky camera users, of course. Thanks for watching, guys. Please consider subscribing and leave me a comment below with your thoughts. And as always, catch you on the next one.